Hello hero, it's Lucy Lannon. It's good to see you. You've seen the title, so at this stage you know more about today's reading than I do, since I speak to you from the recent alternate past. This is a general, timeless one, ideally designed for quite a large audience, so we won't get as specific as we would in a private booking, link down below. If most of what I'm saying feels like an answer to a question you've been living, take those tidbits with you and let a fellow traveller excavate the rest. If it's not your reading, there are playlists on my channel HUD to randomise finding something else. Whilst it's true that a broken clock is right twice a day, I'm not sure that same clock is right 10 times within the hour. So trust yourself, above all, to know what's useful for you and what makes you feel more empowered for hearing it, no matter what your beliefs. While we're on beliefs, on this channel gendered terms are just a specificity of language to describe energetic tendencies and signatures, solar or lunar inclination in accordance with a hermetic law of polarity, and not any kind of socialisation to buy into wholesale or conflate with the identity or orientation of anyone described. Romantic and spiritual labels used are plucked from lengthy precedent predating any unfortunate trending controversies or engineered cyclical backlash. My dude, around these parts, we don't relinquish the complexity of our full histories. We trust ourselves cognitively to adapt what we consume and see what's healthy and long-term accurate. I'm legally obliged to say this is entertainment in quote marks and that I'm an occultist not qualified in unrelated disciplines to advise on physical and mental health, finances, legalities. You get the picture, you're in charge of you. All my readings are protected and warded by frankly magnificent beneficial forces, though I don't share my custom prep rituals on camera any more than I give out my address. I hope the reasoning behind that is obvious, but you can trust there are zero parasitic or adversarial influences permitted within 100 unseen paces of any signal we patch from the noise here today. So sit back, relax into the shape of your most luminous possible future self, cozy up to imaginal allies, and take in whatever it is you need to hear. If you do like it, this small channel with a big mission very much appreciates subscriptions, thoughtful comments, or donations in order to spread the word and keep the lights on. Now, let's tune that dial. Oh, gypsy, now I know I'm not my mother. You are a part of my soul, it's painful to see. No, I am you. Gypsy, you're inside of me. Bow, bow. Where's that coming through? No. Okay. Bear with me, the hair is hairing, the makeup is makeuping. I don't know what I'm doing, I've been off for a week with flu. But that came through pretty seamlessly, even if it sounded like shit. And it was Gypsy by Merciful Fate, which makes me think that... Okay, this is your confirmation station. Please remain in the queue if nothing hits for you, but I'm going to reel off the following. You might be a skater. You might be a former skater. Get back on the board. I'm serious. You might be someone who enjoys the film Girl and Chocolate Pretty Sweet. You might be a Spike Jonze fan, a Will Arnett fan. You might be, your name might be Theo or Theodore or Ted, or you might have just watched Bill and Ted. Your name might also be Robin or Romany. Hi, if that's you. And there's also something here about, like, I don't like the word gypsy, I hate it, because of the connotations in this country and the way it was used against various peoples, which are my peoples, right? But like me, you might have Irish ancestry of a more nomadic nature, or you might have Romany ancestry or Scottish traveller ancestry. There's just something coming through about maybe a motherline where people were moving around a lot, and there might have been some kind of disparaging language used around whatever group that is. But also, with the lyrics to it, yeah, you're not my mother. So, right, I'm getting a few things here. There might be something, if that is a maternal line for you, there's something to do with a link to the maternal in terms of it coming through as a channel. If you're a tarot reader, a channeler, anything like that, there might be some kind of feminine influence from a nomadic culture that is trying to come through you or has been coming through you, and that's your confirmation. Other than that, You're Not My Mother is making me think of the UK EastEnders, "You ain't my mother, yes I am" thing. Which, ignore if you're from the rest of the world, it's like, I'm ashamed I've even seen it, but that might be a thing, that might be a confirmation for somebody. Or your name could be Cat, or who was the other one? Hit me up in the comments if you know who the other one was. There's also, as well as You're Not My Mother, there's a, oh no, 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 I am you, you're inside of me, relating to that maternal. So there might be something here where you have a relationship to someone feminine in your world who you'd rather not be so much like, but you're seeing behaviours coming through. I feel you so hard. You're seeing aspects of yourself that are mirroring your mum, your grandma, your auntie, something like that that's coming up for you. What else? Far out to sea. There's something about this as well that makes you feel exposed. So if you are a channeler and that hit, it might be that like you feel too, like it's too in public and you don't know whether you should go that far with it, even though you have those skills. It might affect other facets of your life. Or there's something to do with like it being too plain for all to see that you're like this feminine family member. Anyway, your word was fawn. Let's get back to basics, shall we? Your esoteric tombola psychic lucky dip word was indeed fawn, which I held up once, but here you go to prove it again. We have the Fallen Angels Oracle cards, we have the Black Moon Astrology, and we have the wonderful Blood Tarot, which also acts as a bit of an oracle today. Let's start with your Blood Tarot and then let's get one of each. So your Blood Tarot is 8 of Pentacles, which is this one. That's giving me kind of butterfly imagery, but particularly those ones with long tails. I don't know what species that is or subspecies, but that's significant somehow. There is a gradual working towards a metamorphosis. I would expect that's you working on yourself. So other readings recently may resonate, particularly, I want to say zombie might resonate, but anyway. And then we've got Fire Element Desire, which is a 37, which adds up to 10, the number of completion. So again, it's like working towards that final point, possibly in a spiritual sense, possibly in a creative or even sexual sense. And then we've got Vine or Danger, which is a 45 from the Fallen Angels to start. I want to get another one with that. That is IPOS 16 Caution. Very similar vibe, but one has a lion and one has a woman. So again, mother stuff is coming through, or like maternal or mother line or feminine energy of some kind. Fawn for me is quite masculine though, so I don't know whether you identify as a masculine or whether it's that there's something about fawn that's like young as well. Who wants? The angels want to talk. Orobas, Honesty, with Zagan, Transformation in reverse. Interesting that that's like a deer type figure when we had fawn, and that's a horse actually. And the other thing I was going to say is that if the traveller culture stuff hit, my particular link to that through the Irish stuff, and actually the Romany stuff but in a second-hand way, was to do with someone who was really good with horses. Like I would call them a horse whisperer if it had been that time, but that sort of thing didn't exist. But I have Irish anyway, and my line kind of made alliances with other traveller lines in the area that we were in because of how good this person was with horses, and the fact that the travelling community kind of met us as outsiders but could see that we had this Doolittle energy and something was a bit sus, a bit off, a bit older, and there was like a friendship that formed there which sort of travelled through the family. So there's something here about horses, deer, or is that a bull? I can't even tell what. It might be an ox. So yeah, there's like oxen, horses, I want to say donkeys, I want to say camels. There's something about like traveling animals here as well. And kind of relationships to an animal that are working relationships, but also maybe spiritual allegiances. Then we've got Bottis, Justice in the upright. You're not making it clear how all this is coming together, my dudes. Hold up. And we have a 2 of Wands in reverse and an 8 of Swords in the upright from the Blood Tarot. I want to say that maybe the feminine in this case is the thing causing danger or caution for whatever's happening here. There's a prevention of plans being made and a kind of like self-trapping thing. I want to say that there's a feminine figure maybe giving you ideas that aren't the most healthy, and that may not be the same feminine figure that we're talking about when we're talking about a channeled person, or someone coming through, or someone from a travelling line, or I don't want to say travelling, a nomadic tradition of some kind. There's someone separate from that is female and maybe is endangering whatever it is that you're trying to create here, whatever it is that you desire. For some of you, that's a relationship. For others of you, it's like a specific magical way of working, or a spiritual mission, or something like that. And fawn backs that up actually, because I think of like Matthew Barney fawns, and for me they are just like aesthetically the epitome of other. They're kind of magical realism in a thing, because they're so sort of urban but also so magical at the same time. And the fawn is like, it's got that human energy, but then it's got the grounded kind of Baphomet goat leg type situation going on, which roots us into the earth. And now I'm thinking of a friend with a Baphomet ring, hi if you're watching, love you, who was talking about it being a symbol of independence for him, as well as a symbol of kind of naturalness. And again, he was someone who was excellent with nature in a way where, like Disney princess style, all of the animals come over and say hi, you know. So I want to say that either you or someone around you, or someone you're indeed channeling, might have been gifted with the animal kingdom, might have been someone who had those, I want to say, outward markers of a magical heritage, whether that be through associations to do with where they were from, or whether it be through behaviours that are sort of demonstrable to other people as being, I want to say witchy, but other words will fit. But there's a danger in your relationship to that person, whether that's you or someone else, and the thing that you're trying to build, the desire that you're trying to act upon with that, right? And it's coming from a feminine figure. Maybe someone who gives advice. And I don't think it's like tarot, I think it's personal. I think this is someone you go to thinking of them as a provider for the group, because we've got this cougar, mountain lion-y kind of figure. Cougar might be significant. This person might have an eye for the younger ones. I'm now hearing cougars, not kittens, by Hawes. Mouth filled with teeth. I can't speak to that in any particular direction because it would be too much information for the internet. But what I will say is that this person who might be a danger to whatever it is that you're working on might have inclinations towards younger partners of whatever gender, right? And they tend to give you advice, which is generally sound advice, but they tend to also be like a bit of a pillar of the community or the tribe that you're in. And yet there's a hesitation around listening to them this time around because of what it is that you're working towards, because of the transformation that you're trying to make happen, which is in reverse, right? Hence this blocked oxen energy that I didn't even recognize as being an ox. Oxtail soup is significant for at least one of you. I don't really know why. And then we've got 48. Why is 48 significant? This person could be 48. And there's something to do with sixes in that, or multiples of 6, 6 eighths. Yeah, I don't know what that is. I'll come back to that stuff. I mean, we've got 2 8s over here and a 48 over here. So like 888 is a thing. Yeah, so I mean, if you want to put below in the comments what the angel number 888 is, I have no idea with angel numbers, but there's something about 8s, there's something about 48, there's something about this person offering what comes across as counsel or consolation, and actually it is disruption in disguise. I feel like maybe they don't have the honesty and the sense of general kind of inner justice, the purity of the fawn, if you like, that's present in 2 of these cards. Maybe they like to be the figure for the group that seems the most grounded, the most spiritually connected, or the most wise. But actually what they're saying at the current time, in terms of what you're working on, is not the wisest information. And when this 2 of Wands is in reverse, to me that looks very martial. It's quite spiky, right? So there's some aspect of themselves coming through in what it is that they're advising you to do that is defensive about something. I'm surprised we didn't get a 7 of Swords, but it makes sense for it to be that. So you're feeling trapped in your head, despite the fact that you've come a long way, despite the fact that you've done all this systematic stuff to get yourself to a point where you are emerging like this butterfly out of a sort of chrysalis that you've been in for a long time. You're emerging as this magical being, this fawn type figure. You are both grounded and spiritual, right? You are both human and divine. Interesting. But they're almost like giving you the wrong... What are they saying about it? We need to get more, like... That one's coming out. Got Temperance in reverse. 10 of Pentacles in reverse. And a 3 of Wands in the upright. Let me show you. They look like this. I think that this person, this female figure, whether or not they be the maternal figure or someone else. No, they're not the maternal figure. The maternal figure is the one connected to the animal kingdom and or travelling kingdom. This is you see fit. This isn't hitting for me, guys, so I'm hoping it works for somebody, but there is an accusation here from this cougar, shall we say, that you are being imbalanced, or that there's something disrupting legacy here as you attempt to rebalance yourself, as you attempt to come out of a period which was maybe not so forward thinking, and you go into planning mode and you go into like legacy mode. I want to say, as you're reaching your maturation in terms of what you want for your life, there is this maternal or female person weighing in on it in a way that says, that's all fine and good, but it's not going to get you anywhere in the long term. Or that's all well and good, but it's not very balanced, is it? You need this, this and this, which may or may not benefit them actually. And that's why they're advising it. And it makes me think back as well, back to the animal person that I mentioned on a sort of personal level that was coming up. Because there was something that I was helping him out with. And he said, why are you doing this? And it was a genuine question. And I realised in that moment that so many of the reasons to do that specific thing would have been selfish ones. They would have been sort of vested interest or societal, or to do with the dynamic between us, or to do with getting something out of it later on, or, you know, so it was a legitimate ask from him, coming from quite an innocent place, but reflective of a climate that is anything but innocent. And I think that that's the thing, is that you're coming from innocence here, but what you're getting fed back is actually not from innocence, it's just masquerading as if it is. And you're sort of saying almost, I think you're questioning for the first time why this person helps everybody. And in doing so, you're realizing that benefits them. It does something for their stance in the community. It does something for their supply, validation, esteem, reputational currency. There's just something a bit iffy about it. Maybe if they are a cougar, it sort of counters that reputation in a weird way. But there's something where they're kind of giving you information that isn't fully the truth. And you're actually coming from a very honest, a very pure, a very balanced place, I think. Maybe you're remedying a lifestyle that wasn't so balanced in the past. But you've come to a point now for yourself where you understand what works for you and for other people. And you're trying to do right by everyone and trying to think in terms of moving into a legacy, moving into something impactful, genuine contribution, genuine spiritual progression, even if it's step by step. And what you're being faced with is someone who's saying, oh, that's wonderful, but I don't know. And part of me is like going, is that because you'll overtake them? Or because they think that they're that figure? And they see potential in you to maybe sort of, I want to say like supplant them or take that throne? Particularly because you have a link to this potentially extra human feminine energy or traveller energy, either one, that is weighing in and is acting like your sort of, the spirit was using the word heart piece. I don't think that's a word, but I know what you mean. It's like, it's almost like, sorry about that guys, my alarm went off, so there is cause for alarm here. Yeah, what I was going to say was that when they use the word heart piece, it was like, I was seeing Grandmother Willow from Pocahontas, or an earlier version would be the sort of older fairy from Fern Gully, where it's like the inner conscience of the person is expressed through this like tree spirit who is guiding them through the thing. And it doesn't have to be a tree spirit. I mean, it could be with the word fawn coming up, but there's something like inner with you. Again, those lyrics, you are a part of my soul, it's clear for all to see. Gypsy, you're inside of me. So whether or not you like the word gypsy, it's like this figure, this maternal other person that had an affinity with animals maybe, or was nomadic in some fashion. They're inside of you, they're coming through, they're helping you in some kind of channeled way, whether it be ancestral or someone you've just kind of asked for or will ask for. And I feel like that's a threat to this cougar person. Either because you're going to surpass them, or just because they sense that this progression is not something that they can control. Ooh. And the other thing for fawn is fight, flight, freeze fawn. This may be someone who intentionally or otherwise has put you into a state of panic before, and you've chosen to fawn as a response. You do maybe more than you would do for other people for them, or you fawn over them, or you compliment them, or you tell them how great their advice is, or what a valuable asset to the community they are, you know, doing all of the sort of hunting, etc., as the cougar would. But you're not really feeling it, it's more of like a reflex. That's really interesting. Okay, so what else have we got? Knight of Wands, Three of Swords. Ace of Wands in reverse and Nine of Wands upright. I want to say this person's blocked you sexually, or at least artistically, because of this Ace of Wands in reverse. And the Knight of Wands is somebody sort of charging in, reclaiming that energy. Like it can be a bit of a fuckboy energy. Maybe that's something you've left behind if you do identify as the masculine here. Or as a masculine. Maybe it's just like, you know, maybe you were in a bit of a player lifestyle at one point, and part of shedding that is moving into this metamorphosized energy where you're thinking long term and you're working in steps in a more spiritual way, and you're working consciously with some kind of other energy, you know, this gypsy. Yeah, because the Knight of Wands is leading into the Three of Swords, which is heartbreak, but it's sort of doing this. It's like the Rorschach of the Blood Tarot is sort of spreading out, and it's almost like somebody pointing, pontificating. I get the image of The Ghost of Christmas Future from Jim Henson's Christmas Carol, which is the best adaptation, by the way, and I will hear nothing else. It's also Michael Caine's best role. But, but the way he sort of points, and his hands like that, and it reminds me of the things on this card. So it's the heartbreak of the realization of what you might have become if you'd stayed on this path of kind of frivolousness, whether that's frivolousness with sexuality or just kind of more a general thing. But you came to that realization, you started to change what it is that you do for yourself or how you operate. And then this person's like used that to undermine what it is that you think you're doing for yourself. You think you're doing for yourself. See the language I'm getting from, that's coming from her. And to maybe undermine your sexuality a little bit, to maybe like point out where you were at, to deride where you are at. Because I feel like for you there has been a massive change, there has been a massive transformation. Maybe you have grown out of certain things, and they don't have to be sexual, but that's just the energy it's sort of playing with. And then we're coming into the Nine of Wands, which, the Nine of Wands is like, it can be like injury or feeling wounded or feeling like you can't rejoin things, but also it's, in this instance, it's making me think of the Nine of Swords and Sleepless Nights. And then the image on this looks to me like two people with antenna, bear in mind I said about the hair antenna earlier, right? Holding hands, but maybe facing different ways. That makes me think of otters holding hands as they sleep, or couples holding hands in bed, even if they're facing a different way. So there is maybe like a partnership in the background of this that you want to pursue. That is part of the threat to this cougar person. So maybe if they are your mum, it's like, if you develop beyond me, if you progress beyond my guidance, and if you become a partner to this person, where am I then? That kind of thing. Or if it's not a maternal competitive kind of thing and this is another female figure in your life, it's almost like, if you are allied over here because of the work that you've completed, what am I to you then? It's like they're relying on you coming to them for guidance over something. And again, this is a general reading for a large audience. If you want more specificity, the best thing is to book with me. So what I will say is that this could be sexual, career-based, familial, friendship-based. You do you. But yeah, what's coming through is that you've been working with or having something work through you that is maternal, linked to travel, linked to a nomad lifestyle, and linked to animal communication. This has been really helpful for you developing your spirituality and creativity, and maybe going back to like recenter yourself into who it is that you wanted to become rather than who you used to be. You've used that process to rebalance yourself. You've had some doubts, but you've kind of leveled them out. You are in that temperance energy in the upright, as it should be. But there is a female figure who is either a cougar or identifies as the leader of the pack in terms of providing for everybody else, advice-wise, who is undermining what it is that you've made or who it is that you're becoming, because they see that with this becoming energy, you'll be in partnership with someone that isn't them. So what do? Chiron healing. Yes. Confirmation you heal. Alright, how do you heal? I was meant to say that one, was I? Well, it's not going to tell me now. Thank you. Okay, so we got a Nine of Swords. You speak up for a start. That's what the knight looks like, in case it's relevant. Very Gundam-y. I say that often about this deck. We've got Five of Wands in the upright, Devil in reverse, and Five of Cups in reverse. Interesting, since we had a heartbreak card elsewhere, that we're now having a reversal of grief. That's what these look like all together. The Devil energy, firstly it's in reverse, secondly it's a bit scattershot, so it's like your addictions are behind you. It's making me think of like spillages, and then it's like don't cry over spilt milk, you know, like the things that you've done in the past are not what will carry through to your present, and you need to be aware that you've left those things behind. Similarly, whatever it is that you were fearing that you've lost, that's a past process. It's something you need to go through in order to reach your healing. Bear in mind also that Chiron is a centaur, which is fairly fawn adjacent in terms of being like natural and divine, or natural and human, in the way that I was on about. It's two things at once. It's very chimeric in that sense. And this card is an 8. So again with the 8s, right? I don't know why. You will know better than me. Hit me up in the comments. So the Five of Wands, Knight of Swords. I think that in the midst of this kind of conflict with this cougar person, or if there is any kind of disagreement in conversation, where you would normally fawn, or maybe even freeze, you're being asked to speak up. You're saying that, like, this looking like Gundam armor to me is saying, you are already wearing your suit of armor, you can more than meet what it is that they're implying through their words rather than what they're saying, at a level where you can actually address it. And it's saying, like, just because it's an implication and not an outright statement, don't fawn over this person, don't back off and let them kind of beat you with the Five of Wands. Instead, rush forward, knowing that you are protected, right, by at least 8 different forces or guides or whatever it is that you work with, right? You have an army behind you. Know that going forward, and be upfront with them and say, I think that when you say that, what you're actually implying is this, and I'd like to disagree based on this stuff that I've done with my life, or based on this information, or based on the fact that you don't know this person that you're speaking on, or whatever it is, right? And then we've got the Magician in the upright. So this is you using the tools at your disposal, using all the experience that you've gained, using perhaps magical abilities that tap into this connection that you have with who we're calling Gypsy in this reading, not liking the word. And just kind of, you see this Devil card, right? And what I said about the splatter and spillage. And you see in this Magician how it feels like all of that is being magnetized, glooping backwards into one place, right? So it's almost like all the things that you were calling mistakes when you were in more easily addicted, more easily flippant energy, or at least like frivolousness, or a bit of chaos, or whatever it was, that's all collecting now into being the person that you are. The things that were just scattershot mistakes, the kind of chaos reigns of your former life, are glooping together and forming a cohesive picture, a symmetry, a kind of divine plan, divine reasoning, divine expression. I want to say, I can't think of the proper word. And the Empress is coming through. So if this was a connection that you were after with this Nine of Wands holding hands, whether or not you identify it with being attracted to the feminine, this is a thing. And actually it's not just that it's a thing, it can be very creative, whatever that means to you. For some, that will be a literal child can come out of this, and that's what's the major threat actually to this cougar person. For others, it will be that it can be a kind of divine allyship of making creative things, or making a spiritual power couple kind of energy that will be a force to be reckoned with, and therefore there's like adverse stuff against this, like trying to keep you from coming into union in a sense. And that's working through this cougar person, who may indeed be tuned in, but not necessarily to what they think they're tuned into, right? That quite often is the case with people who identify as religious or spiritual but don't have a clearer affiliation or clear language about what it is that they're tapping into when they go into Holy Spirit or You know, this might be someone who sees themselves as a channel but doesn't explicitly ask what it is that they're channeling or who they're working with, and doesn't have protection rituals in place to filter that stuff, which can be sometimes where parasites and things like that come in. That's nothing to be afraid of. It's just something that I notice, particularly in religious communities, where there is clearly an inflow of energy, but they haven't put up sufficient barriers to make sure that they know what that energy is. And it can sometimes be like, intel, yes, correct intel, from something that I wouldn't get intel from. So in that case, if there is any kind of, this is getting big now, sorry guys. If you identify with being in some kind of divine partnership, be that twin flame, soulmate, whatever language you want to choose for it, with this Nine of Wands, Empress, holding hands in the dark person, who may even have been there in your kind of past life that you weren't as proud of, and is kind of about to come in again, what might be happening is that there are certain currents, I won't even call them forces because they're not necessarily entities, but there are magical currents that have survival-based vested interest in those sorts of allyships not coming into full fruition. And that energy can flow through other people who are not very careful about what it is that they're channeling, or people who are not fully healed, or whose healing journey is about the wound that never heals, which is Chiron in the light, but it can also be a negative thing, right? If this person is offering advice but they're never actually okay, bit of a red flag there. Yeah, I feel like there's just something coming through in this in terms of blockage, and that's why. That's the deep down why. But the surface why is that actually if you surpass this advice giving person in any kind of reputational or street level stuff, that's not good for their ego. So this is a very egoic thing. And that might even be the bit you're recognising in yourself, particularly those for whom this is directly a maternal figure. This like, oh no, I am you, you're inside of me. It might not be just this channeling stuff. It might be like, oh no, what if I am turning into my mother? What if the egoic stuff that I see in her is actually something I'm carrying? And I think part of this Eight of Pentacles process that you've been moving through into the Temperance, trying to turn it upright despite this person, is to do with like, what is it that's similar about me to the way that they behave? And do I cause a fawn response in other people? And am I truly healed? And am I healing other people from the wound that doesn't heal in the light, in the chironic, purposeful, astrologically aligned way? Or am I healing other people through the wound that never heals by trying to convince myself through the healing of others that I am okay, so as to avoid my own shit? Sorry. Don't shoot the messenger, I do it as well, I'm so sorry. But there's like, for many of you, you are on a spiritual mission here and you're aware of it. And that's coming up. It's like, okay, look at these similarities between you and this cougar person and what they get out of it. And therefore what you kind of get out of it ego-wise. Because it's only in transcending your own ego that you're going to sufficiently dodge theirs and kind of weave round into this alignment with this Empress figure who will actually be helpful, right? And who probably does give good advice, but just in a quieter and less community applauded fashion. Not that community is a bad thing, but again, we've got danger and caution, right? All right, so have we got any final thoughts, any extra intel? Because I need to be getting off soon. Got a Wheel of Fortune falling sideways, so anything could happen at this point. I think you're at a kind of tipping point with stuff. I think that's why you found this reading. It's to both acknowledge this process of metamorphosis that you've been going through, and also to say that like, this is, you're kind of on the axis right now of where it's going to go ultimately, and you need to be aware that this is a delicate time. Indeed, fawn as a word makes me think of the song as well by Tom Waits, which is his most delicate song. It's very sort of fragile sounding, it's beautiful, it's very like staggering through the woods kind of energy, but it's such a, yeah, I can't even describe it. I'll link it below. I'm sure it's come through in another reading that I've done, and it couldn't be more opposite to this Merciful Fate song that came through, but hey ho. 6 of Cups is what we're ending on. Don't be trapped by nostalgia. If like this person that's trying to interrupt things a little bit has helped you out before, that's not negated by being slightly more aware of what their motivations are now, or the ways that they've changed, or the ways that you've potentially outgrown their advice a little bit. They've still been useful to you, you are still useful to them, etc. There is still a lovely relationship that can be had there. I think it just needs to be taken out of this context of like, they are there as the group leader to help you. Because what I want to say is, 6 of Cups is quite a childlike energy, and you're an adult now. Spirit's going, you're a big boy now. And yeah, you don't need the advice of somebody who maybe, in a sort of self-healing, progressing sense, is not quite where you're at. Or where you need to be in order to align with this partnership or this power couple or whatever it is that you're doing in collaboration in the future. And also I'm noticing that this is almost the cocoon shape, so it's almost like having this person's advice and counsel and just general energy to lean on may have been a really positive thing for you for a long time, that helped you cocoon from genuinely harmful shit in the world. And now it's like you're emerging because you've grown out of caterpillar phase and you're into like your adulthood in a spiritual sense, right? However old you are. And it's okay to leave that kind of cocoon and that shell and stuff behind. It doesn't mean that you're not grateful for it. It doesn't mean that the world won't be safe from here on in. It doesn't even mean that this cougar person is a bad person, or that like they're always lying, or that they're being deliberate about any of this. It's just like the reading is calling you to acknowledge that there's some stuff that they say because it's good stuff, and then there's other stuff that they say because it kind of benefits them to say it. And you are now at the stage of your maturation spiritually where you can discern the difference between the two, and doing so at this crucial time, this Wheel of Fortune time, is going to be what makes the difference between you progressing into this potentially union, or at least collaboration creatively, versus you kind of staying where you are and being in this Temperance reversed and ruminating on this past devil energy, this past Knight of Wands stuff, that you've gone beyond now. You've outgrown it. It's fine. Proud of you. Yeah, so I hope that was useful. If you want any more detail, the best thing is to book with me. Link is down below. If you did like it, please like, subscribe, ding dong, thank you kindly. Sorry it was a bit all over the place. Do listen to Merciful Fate if you want to. And if you are a skater, again, get back on the board. I'll see you next time.